Yeah, that,
Alright, so for people who conceal carry, one of the biggest concerns is going to and from your car from a place you're going in and out of. So let's just take the probably most common scenario. You're going into the grocery store and coming out of the grocery store back to your car. Or, put in any store you want to. You're going to and from the store. Now, during the daytime you're aware and everything, but at night you have heightened awareness. And this is because human beings are always afraid of what they can't see in the dark. So you're in danger during the day, but at nighttime, our natural instincts tell us that that is when predators would most likely target us. So the scenario I'm going to go over today is coming out of a store and going to your car in the dark. Well, there's going to be light because you're in a parking lot. So rule number one, try to park close to the store. Try to make sure you're in a well-lit area if you can. All right, so when you're coming out to your car and you're walking there, you could be alone or you could be with your family. But the main key is don't be walking along texting. If you do have to be on your phone for some reason, keep your head up and look around. People who have gone to prison who've been interviewed have stated that the way they usually pick their victims in this scenario is by body language. They look for people who are not paying attention, who might have some physical impairment, or simply are walking around looking worried and scared, or are completely unaware of their surroundings. Because they want to close the distance on you before you're aware that they're there. If somebody's coming at me from across the parking lot and I start screaming, "Robber, help, help!" that draws way too much attention. They want to be on top of you without any reaction and want to be as close to you as possible to have you under their control typically. All right, so as a concealed carrier, we have to always remain aware. If you keep your head up and look around, you more than likely will never have anyone try to accost you because they will not approach your person. Because they will look at you and go, that guy's looking around, he's paying attention, I'm going to go wait for little grandma to come out and get her instead. He looks like someone I don't want to mess with. Because confidence will help deter them. All right. And in fact, on a Google Live chat, I know a guy who spoke about being unarmed, but having a guy approach from across the street directly at him and his family, and he just stared him down, and the guy decided not to mess with him and take off. But the guy looked bad to the guy, looked like he was intent on harm. He just stared him down and scared him away with a stare. So again, keep your eyes and your wits about you, keep your head on a swivel, and walk around looking at what you're doing. Don't sit there and walk around like this, because then you'll look up and a guy's going to have a knife or a gun and be right in your face, and you're going to be done. You're not going to get to finish your text. All right. So let's say you're going to your car and you see a bad guy coming. Okay? It's apparent he's approaching you. Okay? So what you do is you simply try to change direction. Go between a set of cars. Move over to the side to get out of his way. If he changes his direction to intercept you, then you know for sure you just weren't going the same way. If he changes to intercept you, then you know he's coming to you. At which point, and this is coming from taking multiple self-defense classes and concealed carry classes, at that point you need to say to him, "Halt, I'm armed." Okay? Now the fact that you reach back and put your hand on your gun, hold out your hand and say, "Halt, I'm armed," is a pretty good indication that if they are wanting to do ill intent, they will stop and leave. Because at this point, they know you're armed, they know you're giving them a command, and one trick about a command is you can't say, "Stay away, I've got a gun." You need to use a command voice, and that takes a little bit of practice if you're not prior military or law enforcement. So you have to say, "Halt, I'm armed." And that gives and people are like, oh, no, dude, I was just going to ask for change, or something like that. No, I don't have any, go. Just don't worry about it. I call it the Jack Bauer mentality. You never hear him be nice. He always orders people around. and threatens them. Well, in this situation, that's okay. Don't worry about being polite in a bad situation like this. All right, so you say, "Halt, I'm armed." And if he continues to come, then at that point, you can draw your weapon like this. And if he walks into your gun, you're gonna have to stop him. You're gonna have to shoot to stop. And when the police ask, I shot to stop. He walked right into my gun. I told him to stop. Hopefully there's a video camera and some witnesses that'll back you up, and you won't have any problem at all. So, now let's take scenario 2. You're on your phone, you're doing this. All of a sudden you look up and you're this far away. You're 5 feet away from a person and they have a weapon, okay? So they have a knife in their hand or they have a club of some sort and they're right there. Well, at that point, you pretty much need to be fast draw McGraw, and that takes practice where you can pull like that. And if they come into the gun, you got to do what you got to do. All right, so if they're at that point and they already have a gun on you, you've lost. You just got to give them whatever you got and hope that they don't kill you out of hand. All right, so the key is you don't want to get into this position. Now, I've read about other scenarios and other things where there are 2 assailants, where you have one guy that comes at you and one guy that flanks you, at which point now you got this guy coming at you and this guy is flanking you. Now you really have to be ready to put your hand on your gun and say, "Halt, you there, you stop or I'll blow your head off," or something to that extent, to where you actually get their attention. They both stop and they decide, I don't want to screw with this guy, okay? So at this point, yelling curse words, telling them to stop, warning them that you're going to shoot them in some way is perfectly acceptable. Because if they continue to come in and assault you and there's 2 or 3 of them, then you're going to have to do what you got to do. But again, you have to mentally go over all these scenarios in your head. You have to play them out, and you have to go and practice drawing, aiming. You know, ask yourself, I'm a concealed carrier. Could I draw my weapon, fire, and fire on 2 people? Could I do that? Would I even hit them? Would I fire at this guy, completely miss, and fire again and get him like on the 3rd shot, and then this guy attacks me, you know, from the side? Or could I pull, boom, 2 to the chest, like that if I had to? So, in this case, practice really is a necessity. You have to know what you're doing. You have to go out and practice this in order to get good at it. So, again, my best advice is to go and take some self-defense courses. Don't just watch shows on YouTube like mine and say, okay, I know what to do in this situation, because this is something that has to be trained into you. And the reason is this, is when you're getting attacked, your adrenaline starts flowing, your cognitive thinking shuts down, and you're on instinct. So you have to have your responses trained into you. You have to have proper reflexes. You know, they don't just sit a cop down in a class and tell him, now when you see a perpetrator who's armed, you make sure to pull out your gun and tell him to put it down. And that's all you need to know. Here's your gun, now go get in your squad car. No, they put them through intense training on these scenarios of how to react and when to shoot and when to not shoot. And that's exactly what you as a concealed carrier have to be trained in. When to shoot and when to not shoot, just the same as a police officer is. The benefit you have is the vast majority of the time you can avoid these scenarios completely, because you do not have to, as a concealed carrier in most states, intercede in something. I can be out there in the parking lot with my family, see something bad going on over here to someone else, and I can sit here and go, okay, get in the car, we're driving away, I'm getting on my cell phone and I'm calling the police to respond to that. I don't have to go over there and intercede, because I'm under no duty to go and help someone else. But if my life is threatened or my family's life is threatened, be assured that I'm going to stop the threat as quickly and expediently as possible, to protect myself and my family. I'm far more dangerous when my family's around than when I'm by myself. When I'm by myself, I'm willing to accept more of a attack on me, because again, I train in a way that I can draw my weapon, put it on someone and not fire, and fend off the person, preferably without having to fire. But again, it depends on the scenario, how big they are, what they're armed with. You never know, because if you let yourself get into a physical altercation with a person who you've not had any words with, they can take your gun away and shoot you. I mean, if you come down in a court of law and you pulled a gun on someone and told them to stop, and you shot them and they said, did they have a weapon? No, they were coming to take my weapon and kill me with it at that point because they walked into my gun. Again, you need to take these self-defense training courses. You need to go out and have these people put you through shoot, don't shoot scenarios, and you need to train, because if you think that just running around with a gun on your hip makes you safe, it doesn't. You have to know how to use it.
Meep, meep.